a fact check. He just doesn't know.
I was just
2009. And then anyone who's serious about fighting games plays with a stick, which I did not have. And then so being a woman and then playing on pad, right? Women use pads like menstruation. Like there was like levels to being a pad player back in the day. IRC channels were like, go back to the kitchen. You should make a sandwich. Like you're better at making babies than Street Fighter. And I was like,
oh my.
Yeah, I was like,
that's
these are
brutal.
the people I'm gonna play with.
These are the people I call my community. Like, oh man,
this really hurts, but I really want to play with them. So it was like major degenerate hours, and then I finally switched over to stick, and now it doesn't matter. Like it's even Knuckle Dew is so good. He plays on pads. So many players are pad players. No one brings it up. I was like, I had to go through years of like maxi pad harassment, and y'all just roll up with your little PlayStation flipper and no one cares. No one's gonna sweat you.
There are lots of people now who will just like play on anything, right? Like there are people who will go to competitions with like the Donkey Konga bongos.
Keyboard.
Oh yeah,
keyboard. Yes,
for sure.
Those are always my favorite. Yeah. So
it's a different time. So I like to do what I call like meta gatekeeping, where I had I would hear dumb shit at tournaments. So then I would just go to a tournament and then I'll start saying dumb shit. So anything like misogynistic against women, sometimes I'll just drop vis-a-vis a dude and see people's reactions. Like,
oh wow.
So I'd be like, oh yeah, Leffen would be cute if he just didn't open up his mouth.
Wow.
Right? Because people always say that about girls. They're like, oh, she's cute, but until she opens her mouth. So I'd be like, yeah, Leffen's cute, and then he opens his fucking mouth, and people are like,
what? They're offended by this? The guys are offended by this?
They're just like, wait, who? And I was just like, I said it.
Okay, so just turning the tables a little bit.
Turn the tables, yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, it's like gaming's not misogynistic. It's great. We're like a big hug box. And I'm like, no, sweetie, we're not. We're not. So I like to like spark the reaction sometimes to get conversation. Not so much anymore now that I'm in collegiate, because like I want to do. So basically in collegiate world, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm like, I've made.
Well, let's start with this. What's your position in collegiate? Like,
yeah.
Wow. So like, where?
So I'm the eSports coordinator at a college. So basically what I do is I oversee all the different teams, which right now there's 8 teams. And then we look into, you know, what tournaments they want to go to, and then how to kind of facilitate content, which is really different than professional esports. It's like a much slower pace, and we're not at the point where esports is so serious that students can get, you know how sports teams, they kind of get
like full rides,
that, and like I don't want to say privilege, but like teachers will be like, oh, it's okay, you're on the winning basketball team, like we'll just let some of these assignments slide. We're not yes, that's the word. So we're not really there just yet. So I kind of go out and try to make partnerships and see if I can make their life easier. That's just a fancy way of saying I beg for money.
Wow. Okay, so she's a professional beggar.
Yes, like as soon as I meet people, they're like, oh, I do this, I do this, I do this. I'm so important in esports and I do all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, you know how you can show how important you are? You can donate $3,000 to a child's future. And they're like,
it sounds like you know how to work.
Technically correct.
It sounds like you know how to work these angles. You've gotten good at it.
Yeah, just because I'm like, if we're gonna talk the talk and you're this important, you can fork over. College is not extremely expensive. Like $3,000 donation can change one of these students' life. It's not like America where 1 year costs anywhere from like $20,000 to $34,000. Like Canadian college, a $3,000 donation.
Go through a semester on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's like getting like a full ride. So when I come in with like the scholarship talks, people at first, they're like, I don't know if I can think about like $150,000 investment. And I'm like, no, I'm asking for like 5. And they're like, oh,
That's a reasonable number.
I can do 5.
5 I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just kind of help facilitate that program. And then I use my knowledge of working for a team in pro esports
Mhm.
and kind of like trickle it down and try to explain like why certain things are the way they are. For instance, like in terms of scholarships, the kids sometimes are like, oh, well, life would be just better if we were sponsored by this energy drink. And I was like, okay,
So
for a paltry $200 a month, are you ready to make like 5 YouTube videos, all your tweets, change your bio to powered by this energy drink, like, and do all this stuff
Right.
for what? 200? That's one tournament.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, and then like the logo like tattooed across the chest of the jersey. I was like, you really need to, I was like, if we do sponsorships in the collegiate side of things, I want it to be stuff that builds you up. I'm not saying these types of scholarships are evil by any means, or they're not necessary, like they're great, but I really have to think about the academic integrity of what I'm asking the kids to do at the same time.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
how did you get into the whole collegiate scene in the first place?
So I was doing professional esports and I was working on a team, and I really got to discover a lot of, I guess, the dark side of esports, like stuff that I don't agree with and that's like out of your control, and certain obligations just didn't gel with me. And then like I in particular am really passionate about FGC. And so when I hear teams and team owners being like the FGC is a stepping stone into esports, I'm like, I was like, this is my community. These are not people I want you to step on so you can go make millions off someone else, you know?
Right.
Wow.
So I did like a full hard stop. Like I sent in a letter of resignation, like deleted Twitter, was like full, like I just my values don't gel with that. And then it was crazy. Like it was a crazy time. And then my friend Jeff, who I worked with like years ago on this esports show we did called Replay, which was for Cineplex, he was like, hey, did you want to try out collegiate esports? And I was like, okay, students aren't necessarily paid. So they're not kind of driven by
the same sort of temptations and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's different, and they're all there for the right reason, and they're all focused on, you know, competing, and the brand they represent is really easy to get behind because schools in general have a lot of, I don't know, like patriotism. Like you really want to get behind the athletes.
School pride,
yeah, school pride.
So
big thing.
It's totally different, and we don't take any cut of the kids' winnings. Like whatever they win,
they win.
They
That's
win.
great.
Like we put them in the tournament, they enjoy their time, and then they like even if it was $1 million, like they would keep that. That would all go to them.
So you work with the students like as a team very much in the same way that you worked with the pro teams? Is that like kind of how it's going, or?
I try to kind of set them up so that when they graduate, they know what to expect. So I don't like to just look at it as competitive players. Like, yes, you'll have to compete. So I'm like, you need to watch things like what you say on Twitter, what kind of content you put out, like who you're representing. Are you getting into other people's drama? Because that can happen a lot, and especially in Call of Duty, where then you're just like, oh my God, there's another fire to put out. So there's that. But I really try to focus on career building skills where I'm like, are you in a PR program? How can we get you into esports PR after? Are you in like cooking and culinary? How can you then look to other teams and how culinary applies? So for instance, Team Liquid has a chef named Manny, And
his
he
stuff
has to,
looks really good.
yeah, and he
I
has
look
to
at his
think
photos
about, you know, I have a player who's been away from Korea for 2 months. The easiest way, if you're from like another culture, to feel at home is food.
Right.
You know, so
Most
like
def.
I'm from like super northern Canada, so like when I'm lonely, I'm like, I need some like bannock in my life, you know.
Right.
And we're lucky, like downtown they have like niche dish, so I can just go get some food. But it's really there's a lot of important skills that a college gives that can be set into esports. So like yes, playing and competing is so important, but there are so many other ways that you can get involved. You just have to think, how can I apply what I do to esports? So even like photography students are getting involved, film students are getting involved, and I use lots of like my friends' works from the industry. So for instance, Vexani does amazing photos. She was even, I think, up for nomination for like esports photographer of the year.
Wow.
And I'm like, look at how you can capture moments like this, and don't think of it as like esports photography or it needs some kind of edge, because it does. Like esports photography kind of doesn't exist. We're making what is esports photography. We're making what is an esports podcast. Like it's our vision, and I like that it's not, although it is kind of controlled by corporation, it's really not, because anyone with a like fucking phone can show up to,
well, everyone's a content creator now, so
right. Anybody can be. And the people who
Yeah.
aren't, this is something that I've been saying for a little while too, is just like the people who aren't, it's surprising to me sometimes seeing like really prominent casters or players or anybody in the space who is not creating content. It's like you can totally just build a whole life for yourself by doing it.
Yeah.
Even just showing, even really low effort, like just showing what's going on or whatever, like your posts don't have to be highly edited, highly produced, whatever. Content is,
you have your niche. You are your niche.
Yeah, so I really like to show students lots of that stuff. And then I talk to,
I love it,
like coaches too. And this is kind of what I want to do more, is just building up the coaching side of things, because I think in traditional sports, coaches are the most valuable part of a team. And a lot of times the student players like do not get along at all. And I'm like, that's fine. So like I try to tell like our League of Legends coach in particular, there was a conflict that came up, and I was like, let's not bring our personal feelings into this conflict, because the nice thing about having a conflict on a team game is if you can get through this conflict, that makes your team stronger. And that makes everyone in this team better, because you're able to look at stuff and put a solution forward instead of only putting your personal feelings forward. So I really try to build them up so that if they graduate and do go pro, because like our League of Legends team is nice, our Call of Duty team is nice. The way roster changes are, especially in something like Call of Duty, you can just be inserted into a team and you have skills where you can just work with whoever, because you're not going to get along with people. But regardless of that, can you work together as a team? And I really like when there are conflicts, because if you can work with someone who you've had a conflict with and then keep going, like you've both grown as people. And so that means your game too will grow. So I really like that aspect about Collegiate too, where you can really, like, there's like a safety net. Like, I'm like, it's okay to make mistakes here, because out there you can't. Like, if I make a mistake, they're like, cancel, done, wrap it up, delete yourself. But students, this is where like I like make all the mistakes, and
this is where it's supposed to happen. It's such a developmental time for everybody. Like the idea is that you're supposed to go in there and invent and reinvent yourself. That's interesting. I think with that, let's take a little break, and then when we come back, let's get a little bit more into casting. I want to talk casting. So we'll do that after the break. We'll see you then.
All right.
Welcome back to Best of Three in our conversation with Jakyo Manor. Before we get into the next part, I just want to let everyone know that if you do have any kind of questions that you want to leave for a Q&A that we'll have later on after our next break, you can go ahead and leave those in the chat, and we will get to your questions in just a little bit. So go ahead and do that. Jackie, let's talk casting. All right. You've been a caster for a couple years now.
How long you been doing this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so I played Street Fighter V when it came out, which is 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then I legit just went to run one of Russell's locals, like the Toronto top tier local. And then that was the same day Cineplex was at that local, and they were like, "Hey, we need a girl." I was like, I'm a girl.
Okay.
And then I had actually really good friends behind the scenes. So my friend Fook behind the scenes would be like on LinkedIn, like messaging higher ups at Capcom, being like, check out this stream. You need to check her out. Like, you should hire her for E-League. You should do this. And then so the people at Capcom were like, okay, she's on our radar. We'll see how it goes. And then eventually, like, the journey led to me getting to do CPT stuff, which is Capcom Pro Tour.
Right.
And then I did Canada Cup. So that was in October, Canada Cup 2018. And then after that, Capcom was like, we love it. We're going to fly you to Capcom Cup in December. And I was like,
wow. And where was this?
So this was in Toronto, and then the people from LA messaged me, and I was like,
"Oh my!"
Yeah.
And then
heart
I went out,
sweating, like the whole works.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my god, I need to buy so many outfits. Like, if we don't go full out extra, like, because you never know if this opportunity is gonna happen ever again. So I just went wild. I applied for Evo. So Evo actually has kind of like an equitable hiring process. So they have people obviously who they have in mind, but anyone can apply. You just have to make a reel and you just fill out a Google form. So they usually put that out like around this time, so May. And then you put together your reel and you send it in and you just wait and
To
see.
hear back. Yeah.
Yeah. So like sometimes you get picked, sometimes you don't get picked. I'm lucky that the Street Fighter pool of commentators, like everyone is so great and everyone is so supportive that like if someone gets picked over another person, where it's like not competitive. We're like, no, you fit this better. Like I'm so glad it's you. Or I really am so excited to hear your commentary and your take on these players playing in this particular situation. So I always like that they're always so excited. They're never like, oh, you're just like the new up and coming, like you just got picked because you're a woman. Like they'll never say that. Like anytime I'm at a Capcom event and I get picked, I'm like always like, oh my God, I got picked. And everyone's like, we're so supportive of you and like we're so glad that you're so excited. So I like that because I've heard some scenes. It's like
it's weird because you're talking about one part of the community being sort of misogynistic and everything, and then like another part of the community being so supportive and like.
Okay, yeah. Let me clarify. So the pyramid's like this: everyone at the top, so like top players, commentators, like beautiful people at tournaments, beautiful people. They're playing, they're having a good time, and then like chat is a sinking fucking ship. That is never a good time. And the only person I know that will like go on chat is F Word, and he is like rolling around in the mud with the people. How do you fix something like that? I don't know. I just started looking at Twitch chat as a containment piece where I'm like, if we just kind of give them this space and they just all stay in here, at least we know where they are.
That makes sense. Like, that makes sense.
I look at Twitch, I look at Twitch chat as like their tournament jail. Like you couldn't come to the event. We probably don't want you at the event if that's what you're gonna say. And at least if you're all being awful here, we know. We can just full screen and you can go away. Now, is ignoring the problem the solution?
Probably not. But...
No, but I'm like, how can you re-educate this many people?
Right. I mean, you either like highly moderate something like that, or you just kind of let it be what it is.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, you know, there are the times where people just kind of get it out of their system, and then they're like, okay, let's have like a wholesome experience. But I mean, that doesn't happen too often.
So it's like driving a car. Like I feel I'm really great. And then if I'm in my car, I get like road rage and I become like a different person. So I think Twitch chat's the same. Like they've buckled in and they're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be really shitty today.
It's based on habit. It's based on, you know, you enter the space and just now all of a sudden this is the way it is. So I'm sure even me talking to, say, people who are from Canada, who are more Canadian, or people talking to people who are from Korea, I instantly get a switch. You know what I mean? Like I behave differently, I speak differently, and so same thing, same type of deal. It needs to be. I think that environment needs some work. Like they need to do something to break up that environment and change it up.
Yeah, I think that's on Twitch though.
That is on Twitch.
It's not an FGC thing. Like every chat
that's
I'm in, unless it's like a nice, like when I go on stream, I have my viewers, my community, and it's chill. But like I think tournaments and how Twitch handles tournaments, like how come I'm not seeing wrenches? Like the actual Twitch staff wrench. Like where are you to see what's happening when these go on? You know?
Right.
And you don't have to totally censor them because they'll just make a new account, figure it out, use a VPN. But like maybe put them in like emotes only. You know, like for the next 3 days, you have emotes only.
Well, games do this too, right? There's communication bans, there's chat bans, and then there's outright bans. There's different tiers depending on what you're doing. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, like I always feel like people look at FGC as something that's like super toxic, super this. And I'm like, no, that's every tournament chat is a wasteland. Like, I really think Twitch needs to step up.
Oh,
Right.
well, for sure.
It could be a job like that.
I'm sure it's
owned by
many full-time
Amazon.
jobs. It's many
You have
full-time
money.
jobs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They could have more.
Yeah.
Just a wrench, just someone in there to be, you know, the jail warden. I don't know, like something.
Even just for optics, even just, to try to keep people in line. I don't know. But I do see what you're saying.
They just need a big brother just to be like, is that what you want to say?
That's what I mean. Like, if you see Big
that
Brother
what
is there, do you really want to say that?
Yeah.
Right.
I guess that's not a good. I guess Big Brother, like an
Is
older
it the scare tactic? Yeah.
I want an older, like, just like a supportive family member. Just being like,
I just want
would
a
you
senpai.
tell mom that? Is that what you would say to mom? Maybe no. Okay, so delete.
Right.
Or like even a filter. Like if you chat something really, really bad, it would pop up and
with like, are you
like,
sure?
Yeah. Did you mean to say this?
Did you mean
read
a nice
it again
play?
out loud? And then you'd be like, blah, 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 and you'd be like, oh, I could see how that could be offensive.
Would you say that to your mom?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so Twitch chat is your quarantine. Speaking of quarantine, I'm gonna lead this into the Quarantine Cup. Yeah, with Cross Counter TV. Tell us about that.
Okay, so Quarantine Cup is an idea from Gutex because there is.
Let's start with this. Who's Gutex?
Gutex is anytime you type in PogChamp, that emote, into chat, that is Gutex. So he is a Street Fighter OG player. He's was like a god in Third Strike. Check out SBO 2008. And now he's just like, he is someone who can see the future. Like he gets it. Like in our business meetings.
So he's an FGC mind reader. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like so that's why in his bio he has kind of like FGC crystal ball, because he's doing stuff and I'm like, I didn't even know this was possible. So like Quarantine Cup, I can be home, he's at his place, and he can run the tournament in a cloud, and we all have access to view it, and we can get whoever we want to commentate it. And he just sends one link, and we click that one link, and it launches everything in like separate windows. So
oh wow,
it's real advanced shit. And then he had our graphics designer Christian do fully animated like webcam capture people. So we got like strange Sub-Zero masks, and we said it like the lore is like in the future. Everything's stuck inside, everything's online, CPT's canceled forever, and we only have like online has become the new frontier.
Nice. Netplay is king now. Like
yeah. So we've been running that. The first one we did through Matcherino, and like it's really interesting just to see how like sponsor quests work and how simply going on Matcherino and like retweeting stuff, you add money to the pot just by supporting the event in small ways like that. So I really
I hadn't checked out Matcherino in years, and I went on it recently, and they've updated it quite a bit, and it's I see how it works now. Before I was like, they're giving away free money, but it makes a lot of sense. So with these quests, you can actually view ads, or you can go follow people, or whatever it is, and anything that you do under these quests, it'll add to the prize pool. And you may be upping it by like 10 cents or like $1 or whatever, but all of that adds up for every event. So yeah, it's a great platform.
Yeah, I really just like using that because it's a way for everyone to be at home and like make a contribution without going too far to your way. Like we're not pressuring people. Like you can just physically add money to the pot, but if you're like, oh, I like this, I'm just gonna go retweet a bunch of stuff.
That's genius. Wow, why aren't more people doing that? That's incredible.
I don't know, but
genius.
It's just smart, and then it helps like TOs too, right? Because then you always kind of help guarantee like your payout too for doing everything. You know, organizing the bracket, making it happen.
I mean, not only that, like it in terms of actually being a sponsor or anything like that. It's actually a way to track, to make sure that people are following you or whatever it is, all the associated people with whatever tournament it is. Yeah, even Gleam does a very, very similar thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So
very cool stuff.
Yeah, I like doing that, but I don't know, Quarantine Cup, we've had like a couple of curses where everything we've tried to do the day of would like shut down, which I guess is kind of, I don't know, telling of like quarantine and just being stuck online. Because there's been so many tournaments where we've had to just offline tournaments where we've been like, Smash GG doesn't work. Stop. We just need to pencil and paper this bracket out.
Yeah,
but now it's not an option. Everything's online. So we're kind of playing around with the idea of how people can participate. And then we had a guy named Clark, who's a programming genius, made a bot.
Okay.
And so in the Cross Counter Discord, you can use the bot like GGPO and challenge people to matches. And then he leaves like these online lobbies running. And then the more you stay in and degen, the more points you rack up in the Quarantine Cup.
All right.
That's fantastic. So this is an ongoing series. It's not like one event or anything like that.
Yeah, so we've already done 2. And then we're exploring like a lot of new stuff that might not be FGC. It might not be on Cross Counter channel, but like it definitely was born from there because we're always willing to try stuff out. Like even we did Matchup, which was just kind of like play a game, meet people, tried interacting people. And like we called it speed dating the first time, but really speed dating is like, it's got too much baggage.
Yes.
People are not into that.
I watched that stream, a little bit of that stream, by the way. It was jokes. It was.
Yeah, and then people, so there's an incident that happened at EVO at the after party, at the Red Bull after party. We're like, oh, this happened because there was speed dating. And I was like, holla.
No way those were connected.
No, they were not connected at all. They were not in the same location. They were not in the same night. We had 4 bodyguards hired for my event. They were in suits. They were completely visible the whole time. You knew where they were. And then when I went to the other event, I brought my own bodyguard because I had someone give me death threats for Evo. What? And then, but I saw no other security. The only security I saw was right at the front. So I was like, this isn't a speed dating thing. I was like, in fact, if more people came to the event and got to talking to each other and got social skills up, maybe we wouldn't have these kinds of collapses in other situations. Yeah, and then I saw them being like, maybe we shouldn't have clubbing events at all at FGC things. And
but
then,
Evo's in Vegas.
I was just like, I don't see. What I did was I went with my security guard, and then at 2 a.m. he was like, 2 a.m. stuff gets silly. Let's go home. And I was like, okay. And then we left. And then after that, it was like terrible things happened to all my friends. And I was just like, oh.
Nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Right?
That's the How I Met Your Mother line?
That's the How I Met Your Mother line.
Yeah. It was true. It was true.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. So
you can still enjoy yourself until 2 a.m. and then still, miss maybe some of the worst stuff that happens after that.
So just bring it back to Cross Counter. I just kind of like that they're always pushing the bar of what we think about events, what we think about get-togethers, and how we can integrate gaming and socializing. Because I think they're always viewed as 2 separate things, where if you game, you don't socialize. And now World Health Organization's like, oh, you're stuck at home not socializing, so gaming's great now. But I'm like, no, like the games that are the most popular, making the most money, are team games. Like Dota 2 is a team game. Animal Crossing is a highly competitive, meticulous planning. It's like a Sim City.
What was it that you called yourself? An Animal Crossing gatekeeper?
I can't go on Twitter. I can't talk about Animal Crossing because I'm like, oh, you didn't put your lighthouse in a perfect position for boats to come in? What were you thinking? Or like,
restart your
I am not at that point yet. I did not realize that boats came in, so I'll keep that in mind.
Well, there's one that comes in at the back, but it wasn't even out yet. But before the update, I was just like, there might be a boat that needs, some visual, and your lighthouse has to make sense.
If this is in the game, you gotta assume.
Yeah, and I don't time travel. Like, I wait out. Like, I'm like, the game takes a
Wow.
year. You're in it for the year, and they're like, "How dare you? You can't."
Time
tell
traveling
me how to
is
play."
cheating. Time traveling is cheating.
Yes.
I'm just gonna put that out there. Like,
Yeah, I was like, just play tomorrow, and they're like, "You can't tell me how to enjoy my game." I'm like, Nintendo tells you how to enjoy your game.
If you have already experienced
clock.
cheating,
It's with a clock that runs in real time. And they're like, you can't tell me how to enjoy my game.
oh
And
my
like,
gosh,
I just keep thinking of that Sekiro quote where I'm like, you cheated not only the game but yourself.
Yeah. And with that, yep.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, is it so much to wait 24 hours?
Well, I think that's part of the social aspect of the game, right? You're supposed to see how everyone's progressing and stuff. But if people are, sort of time traveling through it, then, they're going to be way.
They're also not they put that in place because they don't expect you to know life the game. But if you go in, you're like, okay, I'm going to experience the entire year today. Then, yeah, you can do that, I guess. But they want you to take your time to experience other things. I guess even in life, just take a break. Once you've done your thing for the day, you're done. Come back tomorrow and play some more. And then the next day, and then the next week, and then the next season. And then by the time you finish the whole year, it's like, okay, well, now you've played a year of this game. Thank you for playing.
I'm quite enjoying it. I'm quite enjoying the slow playing. Usually I'm all about I need to play 24 hours of this in the next 24 hours.
Right. Welcome to an Animal Crossing stream, by the way.
Sorry.
Best of Animal Crossing. And with that, we are going to take another little break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. We just talked about the Quarantine Cup. Let's talk a little bit about quarantine
itself. Yeah.
Then we'll get into the Q&A as well. So again, for those of you in any kind of chat on any platform that you're on right now, leave a question for Jackie. I've already got a couple in the chat right now, but leave a question for Jackie or for any of us, and we will get to those after the break. See you then. And welcome back once again to Best of 3 in our conversation with Jakyo Manor. Jackie, what does this whole quarantine COVID situation look like for you right now? What's that been like?
Well, I am blessed because unlike a lot of people, I still get to work from home. So the funny thing is though, is because we're like we're used to streaming. Like my situation is a lot better sometimes than my coworkers.
Right.
So a lot of the people at the college are like, how do I make a video? How do I teach online? Like we see you guys doing eSports with your setups. So like, what is it? And then so you'll have like this call with like all these scrambled images or like really terrible built-in laptop, webcams.
Webcams and
we're just like, okay, well, you can up your game. So college-wise, we're very fortunate that the college still let everyone kind of keep their jobs, let the learning continue. The downside is they use this system called Blackboard.
Blackboard.
Right,
yes,
Blackboard.
right. It's
not
good.
Not the best system. It seems like every school uses it though. I don't know.
They have some kind of monopoly in the market where
every
like,
single
it just
school
doesn't
uses this
fly.
terrible system.
Right.
Yeah, in any other corporation, only the high flyers get hired. But in academia, it's like, you're stuck with what you got. But I got to see my contract through. We did lots of just trying to get students hours, like our photography students. We were like, what do we do about your placement hours? Because to graduate, they need like 72 to fulfill their program. So I was just like, just clock the hours you have and we'll send them in and see if they get approved or not. There's literally nothing you can do.
I'm sure it's a big problem for all students. So there's something done about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny that you mentioned having like proper like a working setup for online meetings.
Look at us.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
we're ready.
It's so funny to me. Like there was this picture that was circulating the other day that I saw that was like spot the streamer in your Zoom meetings, and it's just like pixelated face, and then this guy with like neon like purple and blue behind him and like fully great quality. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but webcams are like a hot commodity right now.
Yeah,
they're sold out everywhere.
So we actually we were looking to get a webcam out to one of our global ambassadors. I'm going to drop his name, RHJ, Rondé Hollis Jefferson of the Toronto Raptors. So yeah, with the Muka.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. He wanted to stream.
We're a championship city. Anyone in the chat not from Toronto? We are a championship city.
The champs, right here. So he wanted to stream, and we had to get him a webcam, and we're like, okay, let's just get him a webcam. Nothing online. Like it's all like third-party sellers or whatever selling for like $400 a webcam. It's ridiculous.
God.
Luckily, Waves, we got a lot of webcams, so we were able to shoot him one. But it was crazy. I would not pay $400 for this. Like, it's outrageous.
Is he looking to get into streaming?
So he's looking to start that up and sort of get more into the space and get more familiar. So
I'll hook you guys up with Gutex because he can produce the whole show.
We're just making deals on the podcast now.
Just cut the deal. Just cut the deal.
Anybody who sees that production now will be able to say, "Oh, I know how this happened."
Exactly.
And then they'll link to this, and then this is how Best of 3 gets its marketing.
Yeah. We just
through the business deals that it does.
All work together.
Are you playing any? Are you like playing any games while you're in quarantine right now? Like, do you have time for that?
So I am back into training for fighting games because
What's your game?
So I'm doing Grand Blue and Street Fighter 5.
Nice.
And I just feel like as I was progressing and commentating in esports, my gameplay was not progressing. So I don't like that I can get so far in the industry but not have like a certain skill set in regards to my gameplay. So I'm really just taking the time to try to level up there. I'm trying to beat Persona 5. I don't have the new one, and I don't like the old one.
That's
So you're in this weird spot.
I heard the new one is good, but I'm trying to play the old one, and I just have like 200 hours into it. I'm not done. I like the characters. I don't like the story. I'm just like, when there's no end in sight. I'm like, now we gotta do another level. Like, I don't care. So I feel, and I love Persona franchise. I just feel like 5 doesn't respect my time. Maybe I'll try P5R, but I'm in the unpopular camp. I can get hate mail. I just don't like Street Fighter 5. First 3 levels, great. After that,
you
I'm
just
like,
said Street Fighter 5, by
oh,
the way.
fuck.
Don't cut that. Don't cut that. Don't clip that.
It's clipped. It's clipped. Career over. Get canceled.
That's going in the quotes. I don't like Street Fighter 5. Jakyo Manor.
It's the final season, so it's okay. Street Fighter 6 is on its way.
There you go. There you go. Now, in terms of the end of this quarantine, like hopefully we're somewhat close to the end, or at least it's on the horizon. But what do you think that some of the things that you are working with right now, what do you think that those are going to look like once this is all done?
Oh God, I gotta pray that the college hires me back for summer. Otherwise, we go on like the Justin Trudeau payroll.
Oh, it's the curb,
right? Yeah, and then the normal way to make money, which is casting tournaments, is not there. So I'm not like panicking yet, but like I'll have like those moments where I'm on stream and I'm like, how am I gonna pay rent next month? Right?
Okay, so here's a like odd take on it. But do you think it's possible to make back all the money that you would have made by like when quarantine is over? There's gonna be a mass of events, and like everyone's gonna need commentators. Do you think it's just like you're just gonna get all of your sort of jobs in the like later part of the year, or
snowball is what you're saying?
Yeah, like just like say you would have done 12 events throughout the year, and like they crammed 12 events into the last 6, like the back 6 months of the year, then you still get to do 12 events, and you still get So is that going to be the case, do you think?
I don't think for me, because I'm in Toronto. I think if I was in LA, it would be different. And I don't know if tournaments are still going to look like tournaments. So I think the days of open brackets are gone. It's going to be invitational and qualifier. And you have to qualify online to get invited. Because I think events now are going to be 50 or less. Everything. Weddings, 50 or less. Tournaments, 50 or less. Any kind of get together.
Oh, for sure.
Look different. And
even after the COVID's like, after we're cleared to go out and everything's back open, you think 50 or less still?
Well, I think cleared to go out and cleared to have gigantic parties are two different things.
I see.
So it's probably going to take like another year or so, or 2 years.
I don't know. I'm a tinfoil hatter. I'm like, I think the government didn't like any of these kinds of big things. And the easiest way is just to keep a lid on it from now till forever. Because think about it, you got to hire less security. If you downscale everything, that means, you control more of the environment. Like look at E3. E3 went from being an open event to an invitation only.
Right.
And the quality of stuff that happened there changed too. And like the feel of it changed. So I think like the whole world is kind of getting E3'd where, the doors are going to be shut tight, especially in esports. Like if you're not already in, I think in a post-corona world, that is not maybe an option for you, to get in the same way.
Really is the new normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people in all industries, they realize now I can do this from home, or look how much money I'm saving. I don't have to fly out for meetings or whatever. Like, why not just do it on Zoom?
Yeah.
Zoom turns out isn't so bad.
It's really not
privacy, but
yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm in my like room. I'm like, did I clean like my laundry?
Like if I look hard enough, I can find some things. Like there's a full on just Amazon box just back there, just
Oh, but you got
chilling.
the Master Ball, so
Got the Master Ball sitting beside the Amazon box. So.
I see it.
There you go.
Oh man.
So before we go, let's answer a few questions from the audience. We have a few lined up here. First one is actually one of the questions that we ask in almost all of our interviews because it's such a popular question for people. Just how do, and I guess you have a kind of an interesting take on this because of the collegiate and non-collegiate side, but how do people get involved in esports?
Well,
Just
she
how do
thinks
people
it
get
can't
in?
happen anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
All right,
so
let's hear this.
especially with these
Yeah,
times, yeah,
with
sure.
these times, yeah.
How do
Well,
people get involved?
the new frontier is content creation. I mean, it used to be if you were a good player, you played the best and your reward was sponsorship. But that is not how it is anymore. So if you want to get in through competitive playing, you should look into advertising and you need to be how you can represent a brand, how are your interview skills on camera, and how you can sell product. Those are really important, compelling pieces if you want to be a competitive player. You have to have your gameplay has to be nice, but you also have to be able to kind of create content. And that's kind of where people are going and where people are seeing the ROI. So that's kind of if you want to get into the competitive playing side. Any other side, it involves, honestly, and I hate to say this, but it involves just sometimes a lot of volunteer work. So
Right.
if you want to get into broadcast, show up with a friend holding a camera and a mic and start conducting interviews and putting your stuff out there. If you want to be a photographer, start putting your stuff out there. And then, maybe the first couple ones are free and then you make
Scale
those
yourself up from
connections,
there.
and I know in the world they're like nothing's free, never do anything free, but there are so many other hungry people out there kind of doing stuff for free that are slowly making those connections and crawling their way up.
Right.
So it is you have to struggle a bit at first because it is a brand new industry. There's not a lot of trust and connections built up yet, so you kind of need to struggle your way up. So if you want to get into esports in any aspect, my thing to you would be any kind of networking events that happen from now on, get involved with them, especially if they're on Twitch. Maybe you're on Twitch, you should put $200 aside every 2 months. So that's like $100 a month, and start subscribing to people. Get involved in their Twitch, subscribe to them, maybe do a donation with a message, and then, later on, maybe the stream's quiet, find the right time to be like, hey, if you're free, check out my content too.
That's
Like
an interesting take there.
you gotta find ways to kind of schmooze online now. So that is really important, that if you want support, you also need to be able to give some support.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is a little bit of you gotta spend to make. Not necessarily dollars, but you
Could
gotta
be.
spend. Yeah, could be, but it could also be your time. It could be your effort. It could be, but you gotta spend that in order to invest into being able to do anything with it in the future.
Yeah, because you can't just be like, oh, my stream is great, and then I'm like, cool, what streams do you watch? And they're like, I just want you to come to mine.
Right.
And I'm like, no,
I just heard that this Twitch thing is popping.
Yeah, so you gotta kind of create an ecosystem for yourself.
That's interesting, especially the idea of, and I haven't heard this too often from people, is just setting aside money every month, or setting aside time, or setting aside like giving yourself a budget, whether it's time or effort or money that you can actually spend interacting with the community. Twitch is based off of people subscribing, people donating, people giving bits. So if you're not doing that, why would you expect people to give back unless you have something that is super niche and super like interesting to give? And I think that was one of the more interesting things that I heard you say just now, which all of it was very interesting. But the part about being doing things for free at the beginning. So getting your feet wet, getting in the scene. Even when you start charging people and you start making that money, it's hard to price yourself because people are like, well, I'm just a guy. I've been doing things for free. Like, why would I start charging for it? Well, even when you do start charging, that's when like other people who are doing it for free can still come in and undercut you. So the whole idea of doing something for free is so that you can get that experience and that you can become somebody who is worth money. And knowing when that time is really, really important.
Yeah, like I say, it's tough, and like it's really tough doing stuff for free. And like that is not my super big advice. Like definitely know your value, charge your value. But again, if people are looking at bottles of wine to start out, they're just going to grab whatever's on the shelf. And it's not until they really, get involved that they're like, you know what? I'm ready now for this $500
definitely
bottle of wine. And esports is so fresh that we haven't got there. Nothing is aged yet.
All right, so we have a few other questions from the chat, but we are also running out of time. So we are going to do no, it's all right. And we are going to do a lightning round. These questions are going to be, let's say, 15 to 30 seconds. You ready? Okay. What did you do for yourself before esports became a big thing in your life?
Streaming on Twitch, just for fun, paying bills.
Beautiful. Okay. Alex, you too.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. What did I do before esports? I sold cell phones.
There you go.
Yeah.
For me, I would office job. All right. Question 2. What are your thoughts and comments on the esports scene currently? How well off is esports right now?
Sometimes orgs say that they come out in the red, but look at the movie industry because they all come out in the red too. But like Avatar is a major motion picture that made millions, but that company still said they came out in the red that year. So don't trust numbers all the time.
Okay. I like that one. And then last question. With Valorant blowing up and people getting signed onto teams such as Sinatra, the top of Overwatch, going over a few days ago, which was mid-season for Overwatch, how successful do you think Valorant will be as an official esports title and league?
It depends on how good the spectator mode is. If the spectator mode is really able to look and analyze the game and the casters are able to follow the pacing in a way like Call of Duty, for instance, where there's like, the lines showing everything, even with CSGO, that is what will make or break it, is how well you can get your casters on board to make the videos happen.
Answer from a caster point of view. I love it.
There you go. Yeah. And with that, everybody, that is going to be the end of Best of Three's conversation with Jakyo Manor. Jackie, where can people find you?
At everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah. Mike, what about you?
Anywhere fine wines are sold. That's where you'll find me.
She loves her wine, folks. She loves her wine. If you're trying to slide into those DMs.
Have your local wine rack. Pick yourself up at Jakyo Manor. You can find me as well anywhere that you find your people at StillJustMike. Alex, where can people find you?
Whoa, sorry, buddy. People can find me at KrispyKim on Twitter or KrispyKim Donut on Instagram.
There you go. You can find Best of Three anywhere you find your podcasts, as well as on YouTube under, what was that, Organized Gaming? Is that where these are going?
Yes, Organized Gaming.
Beautiful. You can follow us on Twitter at Bo3 Podcast or Instagram at Bo3 Podcast. Send us an email at bo3@organizedgaming.co. And we will see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks so much, everybody.